today I have a cryptid legend for you.
Okay.
It is something we're not too much of a big fan of, Bigfoot related, sort of.
I don't know what you're talking about. I happen to be a huge Bigfoot stan.
Well, myself personally, I'm not too big of a fan of Bigfoots, but sometimes they can be interesting, and I saw this one, I figured I'd talk about it a bit. It's a little bit more interesting than most of the just generic Bigfoot stories, I think.
I don't know what you're talking about because the Bigfoot is an interdimensional alien is the most interesting Bigfoot theory that I have ever stumbled across.
That one is really interesting, so other than that theory,
I mean, what else could be more interesting than stumbling across a 10-foot ape man in the woods
true.
who smells bad?
Well, I can't say this one's gonna beat that out, but Sheepsquatch. Sure, you've heard a little bit about Sheepsquatch.
Oh, I've watched shows
Okay.
on Sheepsquatch.
I'm sure they were awesome. I saw there was quite a few.
I don't know if I'd say awesome. I guess it depends on what you consider to be awesome. I considered it to be awesomely hilarious at the time.
Fair enough. But anyway, this Sheepsquatch has been cited for years. There are other accounts that Sheepsquatch kind of falls into a genre of cryptid white things, and there's a few different theories and legends around those, I guess. But for the first thing, I want to talk about Sheepsquatch. In the woods of West Virginia, mostly in Boone, Kanawha, Putnam, and Mason counties in West Virginia. It's a terrifying creature that's been described as having completely white wool-like fur and paw-like feet or hands. Its head is long and pointed, similar to a dog's.
Wait, so Sheepsquatch has paws? Wouldn't you think that Sheepsquatch would have hooves? Like
You would
sheep?
think so, but as far as I could tell, maybe in the shows about Sheepsquatch, it tells a different story, but I couldn't find any stories that said hooves. All of them were bear-like, paw-like feet.
So wouldn't that lead it more to be Bear Squatch rather than Sheepsquatch?
You would think, but the horns kind of give it a different feel, I guess. But it's got a mouth of razor-sharp teeth and, like I said, the sheep-like horns. And apparently it has a long and hairless tail like a possum, and it stinks. It smells like sulfur, rotten eggs.
So what you're telling me here, it sounds like it's not exactly a Sheepsquatch. It's more of like a Frankenstein type monster of an amalgamation of just any animal that people could think of to throw into one single legend. Like somebody just got bored and went, what kind of Frankenstein animal can we make?
Basically, it is just a mishmash of all kinds of different things.
So I want to go back here for a second. You said that this was around Putnam County,
Yes.
West Virginia?
Right.
So funnily enough, my part of my family is actually from Putnam area. So I might actually have to make some phone calls and see if my family has happened to spot this mysterious Sheepsquatch. I'm sure that there will be plenty of stories to be heard.
Oh yeah. I'm sure if there are, they'll tell you, and we'll have to get on here and update everybody on that.
I mean, it's just like, what was it, my great-grandfather, I think, that, saw the Mothman.
Oh, Mothman, that's another interesting legend.
I'll have to get that story.
Yeah, you ought to. So, back to this. The stories I could find, they were all over the place in the timeline, so some of them, I don't know if they happened earlier or later. Some of them didn't have years, so I just figured, well, this is kind of how it seemed. So, first sighted in 1994, when a group of young women were driving on an icy mountain road. They saw something up ahead, and as soon as their headlights revealed what it was, it froze, turned, and ran.
Couldn't they have just, caught a person doing something shady out in the woods? Because, not gonna lie, West Virginia, it's got some shady business going on up there, so maybe they just caught somebody doing something that they weren't supposed to, and the person was like, oh, hang on, ran back into the woods, and then, it's dark out, these people might not realize what they saw, and thus the Sheepsquatch was born.
Yeah, I mean, it totally could have been a person, and these girls who either knew it was a person or just were so confused by what it was, they decided, oh, well, this thing, I don't know, it looks like something that's like Maybe they all just kind of pictured the same thing of seeing a animal with horns and whatever else details they saw, and then they spread the word, and kind of the legend was born between everybody.
I mean, hysteria is definitely it's a big thing, and once one person starts kind of going down the rails of hysteria, everybody just kind of falls in line of, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what we saw, even though it's nothing of what they saw.
Right.
They believe it is.
So it could be hysteria, or it could be Sheepsquatch, or a Sasquatch-like thing. And you know how they never like to be seen. They always turn and run.
They do, or it could be a matter of they're not real.
That is true, but I like to hold out hope that some of these things could be real, and people are actually seeing things, so there's no definitive proof either way.
There's only one way. We're going Sheepsquatch hunting.
Goodness, are we gonna get a show on Amazon too?
No, probably not, but I know some people up in West Virginia that we could stay with, and we could go spend the night in the woods and do some Sheepsquatch hunting.
Oh boy, that does sound like fun. Don't know if we'll come across anything, maybe some crazy people, like you said, but who knows? Back to what my research came to. So yeah, obviously, of course, the first sighting spread the news of it. More reports came from people seeing the same sort of creature. A Navy seaman who was out hunting saw it moving through the woods to drink from a creek for a few minutes. Then it just turned away and walked towards the road, like through the woods and towards the road.
I just want to know, how blessed do you have to be to witness such a sight of Sheepsquatch just, grazing from this creek and it not do anything to you?
Yeah, pretty blessed, I would say, because it could have turned out a whole lot worse.
Ooh, are there times it did turn out worse?
So yeah, sort of, kind of. I mean, nothing. Nobody got injured or killed or anything. So nothing too crazy. But the next little story I had was that 2 children were playing in a yard in Boone County when they spotted what looked like a large white bear standing at over 6 feet tall on 2 legs. I guess it noticed the girls, once again, didn't like the exposure, so it ran away, breaking tree limbs in its panicked hurry.
So they saw a large white bear. Are there any zoos around the area? Have there been any, polar bear escapes?
Yeah, I guess they just described it because that was the only thing they could make it out to be, was a white bear.
Bears don't have possum tails.
I know. And that's where these stories, they kind of don't really make too much sense.
They don't stick to the status quo like Bigfoot does, where everybody manages to describe the same thing. They all fall into some separate category of they don't know exactly what they saw.
Right. And I don't know, it's just such a shaky premise.
It's kind of like a game of telephone where every time that the story gets passed down and told, something changes. So the next sighting, everything's going to kind of be a little bit different.
Right. True. But anyway, all 3 of those last 3 stories took place the same year. The next year, a couple driving through Boone County noticed a large white shape sitting in the ditch off the road. Now you're gonna like this one. This one, something more happens than just a sighting.
Does it include the razor sharp teeth?
I don't know. Maybe the teeth were involved at some point, but so they saw this sitting off in the ditch off the road. When they stopped to look at it, they exited their car, walked up to it, and saw what looked like a white, woolly animal the size of a bear. And I think it said in the description that it did have the horns and all of that. The very odd part about their story is that they claimed it had 4 eyes.
Okay, hang on. I need a moment to process what just happened. So these people get out of their car and they just walk up to this thing, when before people would just glance in its general direction and it would run off like a scared little field mouse. But this time these people managed to walk up to it and it just turned and looked at them and blinked all 4 of its eyes at them.
Yeah, and that's not all, because it did something completely out of character again.
Ooh, give it to me, I want to know.
Okay, it apparently jumped out of the ditch to start attacking their car.
Why would it go for the car and not the people?
That is the part that doesn't make sense to me. Did they make it to their car? Because it says that they sped off.
So yeah, at that point I would assume that they got up to the creature and it turned and it blinked its little alien eyeballs at them, and they got spooked and bolted back to the car. But you would think that this massive creature would be way faster than human beings would, and they wouldn't have a chance to even make it back to their car to speed off.
You would think. And that's just where this story just feels so incomplete and non-plausible.
I'm thinking that the four eyes kind of gave it blurred vision, you know? It doesn't know full on what it's looking at, and maybe it thought the car was another beast.
That could be the case.
West Virginia has a different legend, you know? It's not just the Sheepsquatch. They now have creatures the size of sedans.
They could, but whenever these people got home, they found scratches all over the side of their car. And I'm just thinking the whole time, I wish that there was like pictures in a newspaper or something. And this is the mid-90s. I mean, just something. I feel like if it was documented somewhere.
You know what happened was they had one of those disposable cameras and they took the pictures and it just never made it off the Walgreens.
Yeah.
Trust me, if something like that happened, you could bet there would be pictures of it. So either those pictures got lost in a fire, or, you know, the film just got exposed to light and, you know, the pictures never saw the light of day, or it never happened.
Yeah, you're right. It could be anything. Anyway, on to the next account. In 99, some campers experienced what looked like a bear running into their campsite, making a loud scream-like sound, causing the campers to run for their lives. Came back the next day to find all of their things strewn about the campsite. Again, there's no full description of what this thing looked like. We're just assuming that that's what these people say.
Oh, curiosity's sake, can you research if there are actually bears in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Because it could have possibly been just a bear.
A white bear, though?
You didn't say that it was white.
Did I not?
No, you just said a bear.
It did look like
creature.
a bear running into their campsite.
Yeah. So it was never discussed that it was actually white.
So there are black bears in West Virginia.
So these campers literally could have just been attacked by a bear.
Yeah, could have been, and they could be correlating it with something else.
I mean, like you said, it never said if it was actually white or not.
Yeah, in that story there, no. I think it's just assumed that this is what these people saw.
I'm just gonna go with yeah, they were out camping. They didn't put their trash away how you're supposed to, and a bear rolled up on them.
Yeah, and that kind of goes in with this next story as well. It's the last one from Sheepsquatch, so you don't have to deal with that anymore. But there was another group of campers in 2015 who, while in their campsite, saw the Sheepsquatch standing on a hill outside camp. It started to run down the hill and cross a river to the campers, only to be stopped in its tracks by a loud shrieking sound coming from the woods. It turned and returned back into the woods.
Well, hang on. So there is something even bigger and scarier than Sheepsquatch living in those woods, right?
Yeah.
Or was that mama Sheepsquatch calling baby Sheepsquatch back? Again, we're in the woods, we're camping, there's bears in them woods. It was a bear.
Well, I mean, these people detailing their account is describing Sheepsquatch. So...
Because getting attacked by a Sheepsquatch is a better story than, ooh, we got attacked by a bear. That is a way more interesting account.
It is, and if someone was looking for some kind of fame or just something to tell a story on, then yeah, I guess they could easily pin it on something else.
I mean, honestly, I would rather tell the story of, dude, I just got attacked by a bear and lived.
It is way more epic, I agree, rather than some kind of legend where everybody's going to think you're crazy.
I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to say crazy, but, you know.
So I have two more quote-unquote white things to tell you about. The first one is, I wasn't going to talk about it, but it is interesting. So there's apparently a story of a creature that didn't look like Mothman, but it did something very Mothman-esque. So in 1994, a 28-year-old man while he was riding his car, witnessed a creature, mostly white, no wings, with really thick, shaggy hair.
Hang on. Wings? we're throwing wings into the mix now?
No. There were no wings.
So there were no wings, but why does that need to be referenced if this is a bear-like creature? Bears don't have wings as far as I recall.
You'll see.
Okay.
There was no face seen by this man, but the head was apparently 3 feet wide. The creature appeared alongside his car, lying beside the car while they're going 65 miles an hour, just floating in the air beside his car with no wings. That is why there's no wings mentioned, and why the story seems to make no sense, because it is levitating.
I can't wrap my head completely around a picture of a bear hovering beside a vehicle. How fast was it going?
65.
I cannot picture a bear flying at 65 mile an hour beside a car.
I cannot either, and the story just didn't make much sense, and it seems made up.
Trying to ride that Mothman train.
Trying to ride, and the Mothman was big in the 60s, and here 94, that's so many years later, and they're trying to, here's something new we're trying to revive, kind of the legend.
I mean, the Mothman legend will never die.
Yeah. The last of the white things legend that I have is something from Cherokee lore, and there's not much to go on, but just this one little bit of lore for you. It tells of a white wolf, and if this white wolf appears to a person, it is a sign of a premature death.
So it's like the black dog out in England. It's an omen of death. I think the hellhounds are the same. I don't know for sure, but if you do see this black dog, you're gonna die. Yeah.
And apparently the dog will select people, for whatever reason, to die early. So it will come show itself to a person for some reason or another, and the dog is the reason. It's not just a sign of death. It causes the death.
So wolf is the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over time, this story has changed to mention it as a white dog, and that is in Appalachian legends, and it's kind of taken over as the wolf in current times.
Okay, but at what point did wolf turn to dog, turn to bear possum?
Well, no, I don't think it's correlated. It's a classification more so than anything of white things. And then the devil dogs is what this current legend that we're talking about is. And I don't know if Sheepsquatch is considered maybe a mutation of a devil dog, but it doesn't have any of the same characteristics of what it does. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just under the same umbrella.
Not gonna lie, this all just kind of sounds like a mess to me.
It does, and that's it's weird to me. I could have probably found enough stuff to talk about Sheepsquatch, but it just would have been stories that are just obviously fabricated. So instead, I kind of just wanted to cover all of the different white things, and the legends don't really make much sense or correlate with each other in many ways, but it's all sightings that happen and legends of West Virginia. So I think that's the biggest tie between them all. So yeah, to finish this legend up, it said that the dog will show itself to people, like I said, picking them to be for an early death. Follow them home and sit near them, waiting for the moment the person passes.
Not gonna lie, that sounds kind of sweet in a way of, I'm just gonna hang out with you so you're not alone as you die, and then I will shepherd you off to wherever you shall go in the next life.
I agree. It is kind of I'd say kind of endearing, but it is also messed up that the dog picked someone.
I mean, you never know. The dog could be working off of some kind of list that it has. The wolf dog's got a hit list.
Yeah.
And you're on it.
Boy, it'd be something to be on a list and just see a random dog and then it follow you home, and that's that.
You know I'd be out here trying to adopt the dog.
I know, and that's the problem here.
I don't see that as a problem. I'd be down with a mythological death dog. Thank you. Come again.
Maybe if you feed it, it won't kill you.
I'm sorry, but I don't have an extra abundance of souls to feed said dog.
Yeah. But yeah, so once they're marked by the dog, no one else can see the dog but the person that's marked. And the person who's marked has a few days to a couple of weeks left.
At least it's not a few hours.
Yeah, so if you see the dog and you know what this dog meant, then you could live your best life for the last days or weeks of your life.
You have time to say goodbye and then
Yeah.
try to explain to people that, hey, there's this dog following me and you might not believe this, but I'm gonna die soon.
Yeah. Time to make things right with people and everything else you could do. But that is the legend of the white things. I know it was pretty messy, but we got through it. And I don't know, what do you think?
I think I need to make some phone calls. And I'm going up to West Virginia soon. Maybe when it gets a little bit warmer. But I'm gonna go do some sheepsquatch hunting.
Well, I hope we find something when we go. That would be pretty cool.
Don't worry, I'll take pictures.
All right, well, that was it. And thanks for joining us again for another one of these. And we will see you next time.